Paul Tuttle Sr. with Orange County Choppers is here with the foundation tonight. First of all, thank you for being part of tonight.
You're welcome. I'm proud to be here.
They were the kings of custom motorcycles, turning wrenches into gold on Discovery Channel. But when the cameras stopped rolling, the American chopper stars lost everything. Bankruptcy filings revealed debts in the millions. Lawsuits flew between family members. One son disappeared completely after suing for $250,000. Another fought addiction while his father threw him out. The mansion featured on TV went into foreclosure. The business empire collapsed. Today, they're scattered across the country, and what happened to each of them will shock you. Paul Tuttle Sr. He used to yell orders while building dream motorcycles, standing like a king inside Orange County Choppers, his giant arms folded, sunglasses on, voice booming through the shop. Paul Tuttle Sr. wasn't just a bike builder. He was a TV star, a brand, a symbol of old-school toughness. Fans watched every episode, cheering as engines roared and tempers exploded. But off-camera, the empire was already falling apart. By February 2018, everything came crashing down. He filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, quietly admitting he owed nearly $1,070,800 to almost 50 different creditors. His assets were listed at $1,729, but the truth was even more brutal. He was earning $15,070, then $93 a month, but spending $12,612 just to stay afloat. There was barely anything left. The mansion in Montgomery, New York that fans once watched him proudly build on TV went into foreclosure. In 2019, he had no choice but to sell it for just $1.5 million. He wanted more than double that. The sale even included tools and farm animals because every cent counted. But the money problems weren't the only disaster. In 2017, his own business partner, Thomas Derbyshire, sued him for fraud. Derbyshire had put in $3 million to help launch a new show, but Paul Sr. burned through it. Court papers told the real story. He delayed filming for an entire week just to go fishing. He refused to work with people they had already hired. He secretly took money from the budget to pay his son Michael's salary without telling anyone. He even made side trades, exchanging dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue project and grabbing free gear for his shop on the side. Every move was hidden. Every deal was off the books. Then came more legal chaos. In 2019, a federal judge found him in contempt of court for not paying $17,000 to JTM Motorsports. They had worked on his 2009 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. He never paid them. He also owed the town of Crawford $151,230.98 in back taxes. On top of that, he had $21,300 in credit card debt. And it didn't stop there. Reports surfaced tying him to an alleged scheme that tricked Central American investors out of $12 to $15 million. It was all tied to his OCC Roadhouse project in Florida. By March 2020, he packed up and left New York. The original shop that once made him famous was done. He moved everything to Clearwater, Florida, starting over with the OCC Museum and Roadhouse. The name was still big, the bikes were still loud, but the glory was gone. The money was gone. The trust was gone. He's 76 now and still builds bikes and shows up on YouTube, gripping handlebars and acting like the old days never ended. Paul Tuttle Jr. Paul Tuttle Jr. was once the face of a roaring empire. He built custom choppers that stunned the world. His designs ran on Discovery Channel. He worked side by side with his father, Paul Sr., and together they made Orange County Choppers a household name. But fame only lasted so long, and what started as a dream ended in courtroom battles, betrayal, and bankruptcy that nearly erased everything he had built. It all began to fall apart in 2008, during the height of American Choppers' popularity. Cameras were rolling when Paul Sr. exploded at his son. The argument wasn't new. They had been fighting for years about who made the real decisions. But this time, it went further. Paul Sr. fired his son on live TV. Just like that, Jr. was out. No office, no bikes, no crew. His name was still on the company, though. He owned 20% of Orange County Choppers. And that's where the real war started. Senior didn't want his son owning anything. He triggered a buyout clause buried in their business agreement, one that would let him force Junior out completely. But instead of valuing the 20% fairly, Senior's own appraiser claimed it was worth $0. Nothing. The same son who helped build the company, who designed the bikes that made them famous, was now told his share meant absolutely nothing. Junior fought back. He went to court, and by December 2010, he won the appeal. Judges ruled the deal was unenforceable. They never agreed on how to calculate the value. So Paul Jr. got to keep his stake, but the damage was already done. The family was broken, and the business had turned into a battlefield. In 2009, trying to save the Discovery Channel deal, they signed a temporary truce. But the tension never went away. The trust was gone. So Junior started over. He launched his own company, Paul Jr. Designs, and moved his shop to Ship Bottom, New Jersey. He didn't have the original crew, the old garage, or the backing of a reality show empire, but he had his hands, his style, and his name. Big brands came calling. Microsoft, Cadillac, Mercedes-Benz. He built custom choppers for all of them. The bikes still made people stop and stare. But behind the success, money trouble started creeping in. By March 2018, the numbers told the real story. Paul Jr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His assets were listed at $1,801,729, but his debts were nearly as high, $1,070,893. On top of that, he owed $51,30.98 in tax debt. His biggest asset was his mansion in Montgomery, New York, valued at $1.8 million. But that house wasn't enough to keep everything from falling apart. It was a slow, painful collapse. The fame was still there, but the fortune was gone. Even now, Paul Jr. is still in the game. He shows up at high-end motorcycle competitions. He judges fancy concours events. He still builds bikes, but he's no longer part of the empire he helped create. Orange County Choppers moved on without him. His net worth today sits at just $2 million, a far cry from what it could have been. He built bikes that were shown around the world. He helped turn a family garage into a global brand. And in the end, he lost the shop, the name, and the trust of the man who taught him everything. 1 decade was all it took to go from television royalty to bankruptcy court. But through all of it, he kept building. Mikey Tutul. When American Chopper hit TV screens, people tuned in for the roaring engines, the custom bikes, and the wild fights between Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. But there was always one person who brought a breath of fresh air into the chaos. Mikey Tutul wasn't building bikes. He wasn't screaming or throwing wrenches. He was cracking jokes, answering phones, and cleaning up around the Orange County Choppers shop. He was the soft spot in a show built on hard metal. But what most people didn't see was that Mikey's real battle wasn't with his family. It was with himself. It was with the bottle. The drinking started quietly, almost like a background noise in his life. But as the seasons rolled on, that noise got louder. Mikey's addiction didn't just affect him. It broke down every part of his world. His father, Paul Sr., had built the business from the ground up and couldn't take it anymore. This wasn't just some break. Paul Sr. kicked Mikey out of Orange County Choppers completely. The shop, the show, the family business, it was all gone in one brutal decision. Fans began noticing Mikey disappearing from episodes. He wasn't at the builds. He wasn't in the background. People started asking what was going on. But the truth was darker than anyone guessed. Mikey had finally reached a place so low, he had no choice but to check himself into rehab. It was either fight for his life or lose everything. Even after getting sober, trouble kept following him. In 2019, a photographer named Scott Gunnels sued Mikey, Paul Sr., and Orange County Choppers for copyright infringement. Back in 2013, Gunnels had taken photos of Mikey. Those same photos started showing up on the show, on Facebook pages, and on merchandise. T-shirts being sold for $19.95, hoodies for $39.99. His logo had been cut off one of the images used for Mikey's art exhibition. He hadn't given permission. On February 18, 2020, a federal judge ruled in Gunnell's favor. Paul Sr. was ordered to pay $258,484.45 for using the images without authorization. It was a huge hit for a family already bruised by years of legal and emotional damage. The money problems didn't stop there. In 2004, Mikey bought a house from his own mother, Paula, for $550,000. It was a quiet place in Montgomery, New York. But 5 years later, in 2009, he had to sell that same home for just $460,000. He lost $90,000. His net worth, which once stood at $2 million, slowly dropped until it hit just $1 million. It wasn't just about money. It was about watching his life shrink in every direction. Fame was fading. His name was no longer tied to motorcycles or laughter. It was tied to lawsuits, addiction, and silence. But Mikey didn't stop trying. After rehab, after court battles, after losing the family home, he began picking up the pieces. He came back to Orange County Choppers, not as a star, but as assistant general manager. He handled the Facebook page. He kept things moving. It was a small role, but it was steady. He also started his own company, FarQ Products LLC, and began selling homemade gourmet pasta sauces. It wasn't about being famous anymore. It was about making something that felt real. In Montgomery, he opened an art gallery. He filled it with his own work, metal sculptures, paintings, the kind of pieces that spoke without needing noise. Vinnie DiMartino. In August 2007, Vinnie DiMartino packed up his tools and walked out of Orange County Choppers. He had spent 5 years there, building some of the most iconic bikes the show ever aired. Fans loved his calm nature, his clean lines, his skill. But when he handed in his notice, Paul Tootle Sr. looked straight at the camera and said, "Everyone's replaceable. No thanks, no handshake, no respect." Just a cold sentence that hit Vinnie harder than any punch. He didn't argue, he just left. But he wasn't done. He joined forces with Cody Connolly, another young builder from OCC, and together they opened V-Force Customs in Rock Tavern, New York. They didn't waste time. Clients came in, bikes got built, and the shop started strong. In 2010, Vinnie was back on television working alongside Paul Jr. in American Chopper, Senior versus Junior. He appeared in 55 out of the show's 65 episodes. For 4 seasons, it looked like things were finally lining up. The dream felt real. But the world outside the shop was changing fast. Then came the crash. The 2008 financial crisis didn't just shake banks and stock markets, it crushed the custom motorcycle world. By late 2013, the market for custom choppers had vanished. People weren't buying. The culture that once fueled shows and shops had burned out. It didn't matter how good Vinnie's work was. There were no buyers left. The losses piled up. V-Force Customs couldn't survive. One by one, Vinnie sold the equipment he had built his dream on. Lathes, welders, paint guns, gone. He shut down the shop quietly. No spotlight, no send-off. Just the sound of doors closing and dreams folding in. That same year, Vinnie made a painful pivot. He took what little he had left and opened DiMartino Motorsports in Montgomery. This time it wasn't about high-end bikes or cable TV. It was about keeping the lights on. Instead of designing custom choppers for the world, he now fixes cars and light trucks for local people. There are no cameras in the garage, no fans leaning over the ropes, just grease, tools, and honest work. Today, his estimated net worth is around $1 million. For someone who once stood under the bright lights of a hit reality show, that number seems small, but it's what he's built with his own hands, without shortcuts, without scripts. Vinnie proved something that day he walked out in 2007. He didn't need Paul Sr.'s approval. He didn't need fame to survive. He just needed enough belief in himself to start over. And even when everything fell apart, he found a way to keep going. Rick Petco. Every day for 13 years, Rick Petco woke up in Pennsylvania and drove 90 minutes just to get to work. Then, at the end of each day, he turned around and did it again. That's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, sitting in traffic, stuck between trucks and taillights, just to reach the loudest shop on television. From July 2003 until 2016, Rick kept that routine going like a machine. While the Tootles at Orange County Choppers threw wrenches, broke furniture, and screamed across the floor, Rick quietly kept building bikes and showing up. Nobody on screen saw it, but his life was being eaten alive by the road. He was paid well for it. Every time Rick appeared on an episode, he earned $13,000 on top of his regular OCC salary. The checks added up. By the time he stepped away, his net worth had climbed to about $1.75 million. But all that money came at a cost that didn't show up on screen. The shop was chaos. The cameras never stopped. The fights were real. And Rick was spending more time with his steering wheel than with his own wife. In 2012, he got married, and that changed everything. He started to notice how much of his life was being drained away. Hours spent behind the wheel, energy wasted watching senior and juniors scream about deadlines, frames, and loyalty. The show had made him famous. It had made him rich, but it hadn't made him happy. So in 2016, Rick made the kind of move that most people talk about, but never do. He walked away. No more TV cameras, no more per-episode bonuses, no more driving an hour and a half just to walk into a storm of yelling. Rick packed up his tools and moved home. Not just to Pennsylvania, but close to home. This time, his new job was only minutes away. He joined Pocono Mountain Harley-Davidson in Stroudsburg, where the commute didn't steal his life. He told the Pocono Record the truth. That was great while it lasted, but it still wasn't the core of what I was about. Now he works from his own farmhouse. He started a business called RPD & Co-Otters, where he handcrafts custom knives and wedding bands. He spends his time at motorcycle shows with his wife and kids. He creates things with his hands again, without shouting, without cameras, without drama. Cody Connolly. Cody Connolly was just 14 when he stepped into the world of Orange County Choppers. It was 2001, and most kids his age were still figuring out homework, but Cody was already holding welding tools and learning from the Tootle family on national television. He wasn't just another kid in the background. Viewers watched him grow year by year as he became one of the youngest and most gifted bike fabricators anyone had seen on screen. In Season 1, he even got his own special build called the Cody Project. It wasn't just for show either. That bike sold at Daytona Beach Bike Week in 2003, and for a while, it seemed like Cody had it all. Paul Tootle Sr. even paid for him to attend the American Motorcycle Institute to keep building his skills. On the surface, everything looked like a dream. But the truth unraveled fast. In October 2007, Cody walked away. He was only 20, but the break wasn't quiet. He filed a lawsuit against Paul Sr. and Orange County Choppers that shocked everyone who ever watched the show. The kid everyone rooted for was now suing the man who once called him family. Cody claimed they used his face on merchandise even after he left. Posters, coloring books, all kinds of gear, and never paid him a dime for it. The most painful part wasn't even the money. It was that moment on camera when Paul Sr. handed Cody the keys to a custom chopper and said it belonged to him. Cody said he never got that bike. The keys were for the audience, not for real life. He asked for $250,000 in damages. When people wondered why he waited so long, Cody admitted he had no idea what his rights were at the time. He was young. The case dragged on until 2011, then quietly settled out of court. No dramatic ending, no public apology, just silence. And then, Cody disappeared from the motorcycle world entirely. The same industry that raised him on screen was now behind him. He started something new, Revel Ranch Excavation, a demolition company in Pine Bush, New York. He works with dirt, septic systems, land clearing, and drainage now. He's married, he has a daughter. He barely even posts on social media. The boy who once welded gas tanks on camera now digs through soil far away from the spotlight. Jason Pohl. Then came Jason Pohl, the designer who arrived at OCC in early 2004. Before the show, he was just an artist making digital choppers for a pinball game. But Paul Sr. saw his work and hired him as the senior designer. At first, Jason's designs blew people away. He brought wild ideas and tech skills that looked futuristic. But the internet didn't love him. In fact, they hated him. Viewers called him arrogant. Fans accused him of trolling message boards to defend himself. One blogger even wrote that Jason was the most hated guy on American Chopper and probably knew it. His drawings were often slammed for not looking like real motorcycles. Over and over, Paul Sr. had to remind him that a sketch needed to become something that could actually ride. The most brutal moment came during the Senior versus Junior spin-off when Paul Sr. lost it over one of Jason's builds and called it a cake decorator. On camera, Jason broke down. He said he took the designs personally, and having the company owner trash his work in front of everyone crushed him. In the 2011 build-off between OCC, Paul Jr., and Jesse James, Jason helped design a bizarre tank-like bike with flamethrowers. It didn't go well. The internet laughed. Hardcore bikers rolled their eyes. Critics said it looked like a video game fantasy, not a motorcycle. And for Jason, that joke stuck. By February 2018, OCC was falling apart. Paul Sr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. He had over $66,000 in credit card debt and 8 lawsuits chasing him. Jason's time on screen dropped fast after that. In March 2020, he officially left. He moved to Florida in 2021 and didn't look back. Now he works as a SolidWorks brand ambassador. He designs things far from bike shops and TV cameras. His estimated net worth sits around $700,000. No more yelling, no more flames. Just 3D models, software, and peace. Nick Hansford. While the rest of the Orange County Choppers crew argued on camera and broke down in courtrooms, Nick Hansford was quietly building bikes and keeping his life together. He had trained at the American Motorcycle Institute in Florida with Christian Welter, and both of them had dreams bigger than the shops they worked in. Nick's early jobs at Pompano Fats and Daytona Choppers helped him build skill, but it was Bike Week in 2000 that changed everything. That's where he met Paul Tootle Sr., who saw the quiet confidence in Nick and brought him on board at OCC as a technician and distributor. 2 years later, in 2002, Nick left Florida and moved to New York for family reasons. That decision changed the rest of his life. He became a full-time mechanic at the OCC shop and worked for 17 straight years, appearing regularly on American Chopper and Orange County Choppers until 2019. While others screamed at each other on screen or in court, Nick kept his head down and just did the work. He stayed away from the lawsuits, the feuds, the bankruptcy, and the drama. He never became a star, but he became something better, stable. Today, he lives in Virginia with his wife and at least 2 kids, and no one really knows what he does now. He doesn't say, he doesn't post. He simply disappeared from public view by choice. Christian Welter. Christian Welter had a story just as steady, but with its own twist. He was born on September 9, 1978, in New Jersey. He also attended the American Motorcycle Institute and shared a dorm with Nick Hansford. That one roommate connection would lead to everything. In 2002, Christian joined OCC during the very first season. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't pick fights. He just worked. As shop foreman and head mechanic, he handled the wiring, the assembly, and most of the technical work on every custom chopper that left the shop. While Paul Sr. was yelling and Jr. was storming off, Christian was in the back making sure the bikes actually ran. He avoided every public disaster that followed the rest of the crew. When Paul Sr. filed for bankruptcy in 2018, with monthly expenses over $12,600, Christian wasn't part of it. He had stayed employed. He had kept things clean. He'd been drumming since he was 12, taking private lessons for 7 years. When OCC's general manager Steve Moreau found out, they formed a band. They practiced in the boiler room and even released an album with 10 songs. Christian said it was rushed and it never really showed what they could do, but it happened. He stayed at OCC until 2016 and then quietly moved on. No lawsuits, no headlines, no meltdowns, just years of steady work and silent exits. Daniel Tutul. He wasn't on the show, and he didn't get into the fights like Paul Jr. or the public flames like Paul Sr., but what happened to him almost burned down the whole empire. Daniel was Paul Sr.'s second oldest son, and in 2004, he took over the family's original business, OC Ironworks. It looked like a gift, but behind the scenes, something else was happening. In 2007, a bankruptcy trustee named Tom Geneva filed a shocking complaint. He accused Daniel and his family of stripping OC Ironworks of everything valuable: machinery, workers, accounts, and moving it all into a new company, Orange County Ironworks LLC, without paying what it was worth. The old company went bankrupt. The creditors got nothing. It wasn't just sloppy business. It was alleged fraud. When the dust settled in December 2008, Daniel was just 32 years old and facing a massive fine. He was ordered to pay $500,000. Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. each only had to pay $50,000. Daniel's penalty was 10 times more than theirs. At the time, most Americans were earning about $40,000 a year. This wasn't just a fine, it was a wrecking ball. But Daniel didn't fold. He didn't go on TV and cry. He didn't file bankruptcy. He went back to work. He spent years fixing the company's name and growing the business. He started a second company called Gabriel Steel. By 2024, he had expanded his workforce from 35 employees to 69. Even more surprisingly, he was the one who built the massive OCC headquarters, the same one that made his brothers famous on television. He never got credit for it. He was never the face of the brand. But behind the scenes, he had helped build it all, literally. While his brothers fought in front of cameras and lost millions, Daniel turned a $500,000 scandal into one of New York's strongest steel businesses.